Because money now is free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, it's free at last. I'm going to go to hell for that. Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? Mr. Matt here with Mr. Matt's 5 Minutes of Finance, where we help you along on your journey to financial freedom, 5 minutes at a time. Today, I want to talk about a subject that I've talked about before, but it bears repeating because there are still 30% of U.S. citizens who are not taking advantage of their company's matching program for their 401k. Or 403b, whatever the retirement program is. The reason this comes about this time is that a family member, whose initials we'll just call him JP for the sake of this conversation, like a son to me. He's finished with school and he started in corporate America, a software developer for a small company. And he texted me to ask how much he should contribute toward his retirement fund. Then we had a phone conversation. I found out that they match 4% matching at their that company. So I told him at a minimum you should do 4%. Try to do more than that, do as much as you can, but I know it's a new job. He's got student loans, so he's got bills to pay. So at least 4% is the absolute minimum, because you want to participate up to the maximum of your match, wherever you are. Let me give you this example. In the federal government, for example, it's 5% is how much they match. And let's assume a salary of $42,000, okay? An individual who puts in 5% and they're going to match it 5%. And let's assume, for the sake of this discussion, that we're going to have a 5% return on investment year over year, right? 5% is very modest. The stock market is returned at any given 20, 35, or 30-year period, 7 or 8%. But we'll just go conservative and say 5% return on investment. In 10 years, that 5% at $42K, that's the annual salary, will be about $60,000. In 20 years, we're talking about $165,000, just doing 5%. And in 30 years, we're talking about $342,000. Now, of course, this is very modest because I assume you may start out making $42,000 a year, but you're going to have that salary increase and you're still going to contribute the minimum amount, and perhaps what you're going to contribute is going to be higher. So you can see that with the power of compounding, these numbers will likely even be higher than what we're talking about here. And we're talking small potatoes. This is a small sacrifice if we're talking about 5% of your salary. This is just no grande soy caramel macchiato with no whip extra foam. Instead of doing that every day, put that 5%. The new Nikes that come out that you can't just seem to do without those. That's probably going to be 5%. Find a way to make it happen. Netflix, Hulu, cable, cancel those if you have to, in order to make sure you meet the minimum. And so, friends and family, that's the question you ask your friends when they're getting started in new jobs. Like, hey, how do you like where you're working? No, did you put in the maximum match? That's the question you ask. Pastors out there, if you have a sermon to preach, tell your flock about this matching program. This is that important. Teach these people in the way they should go, and they will never depart from it. Get out there on that pulpit. Instead of the Sermon on the Mount, do a sermon on the match. I have a dream that one day everybody will go to HR and demand that they put in the maximum of the match. Because money now is free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, it's free at last. I'm going to go to hell for that. But it's important that we get this message across. So please, everyone, tell everyone you know, we need to get the match. It's free money, people. Take advantage of it. All right, folks, this has been Mr. Matt with Mr. Matt's 5 Minutes of Finance. Until next time, comment, like, subscribe, share this video. Just a service announcement for everyone. Mr. Matt's 5 Minutes of Finance will be taking a break for the summer. July and August will be off. My editor is traveling the world. Internet access might be sketchy at times. So we're gonna take a break for the summer, but we'll be back in St. Louis or back in September with much more videos, much more content. Do come back. In the meantime, watch the rest of the videos that are out there on YouTube. Take care of yourselves and your financial futures.